Welcome back to the second video of the Java programming video course. In the first video, we saw how to store the data, how to give input and print output to the screen, and how to do calculations. In this video, we will see how to conditionally run some parts of the program and how to repeat parts in the program. So in this video, first of all, we will cover the theory of the loops, what the loops are, and then we understand the difference between the pretest and the post-test loops. And then we will see the do-while and while loop, and then we learn the switch conditional statement, and after all, the for loop. And at the end of the video, we will see how to control these loops with the break and the continue statements. So, if you have a child, you might know that the children cry and cry and cry until they get what they want. Or, if you are a Facebook user, then you might keep checking Facebook until you get a message. Or you might get an instruction that go along the road until you get to the bridge. These are loops. So what is the theory in the background of the practice? So you continuously do or repeat something until a condition changes. What kind of loops there are in the Java? There are two different loops, the post-test loop and the pre-test loops. The post-test loop is the do-while loop, while there are two pre-test loops, the while loop and the for loop. What are these post-test and pre-test? So if you go to have a ride on the roller coaster, then a pretest might be a question before the first run that do you want to have a ride? And if you say yes, then you have a ride. And in the case of post-test loops, after the first run, you will be given a question that do you want to have a ride again after the first run? So in the case of post-test loop, the loop will be executed once and then you receive a question, while in the pre-test loop you receive a question, and if the question is true, then the loop will be executed. So first let's see the do-while loop. This is the syntax. First you use the do keyword and then curly brackets, and then the statements that you want to repeat, and then after the ending curly bracket, the while keyword, and then the condition, which is the same as in the case of the if statement. So let's see an exercise. Let's write a program that reads in die value 1 to 6 and checks whether the value is good or not. And if not, then it reads again and again and again. Let's start doing the exercise. First of all, let's create a project. Java application project. And let's name it to 02, which is the number of the video, underscore 01, which is the number of the exercise, and then check die, which is the name of the exercise. Let's leave the create main class checked. Okay, so first of all, I remove this comment from here, and then I create a scanner because we have to read in the die value. And then I import the scanner, and then I create a variable, an int variable named die, which will contain the value that was read in. And then let's print out something for the user to know what happens. And then let's read in the number. How can we solve that? If the die value is not good, then it jumps back and print out the message again and then read the number again with the do-while loop. So I write here the do, this will be the target of the jump, and then at the end you write here a while and a condition when you have to jump back to the do. What is the condition? When the die value is less than 1 or the die value is greater than 6. So this program completely satisfies the requirements, but let's make one step forward. So let's notify the user what happens when he or she doesn't give in a good value. So in this case, with an if statement, so if the read-in value was not good, the same condition as in the while, then we will print out that the value of the die is bad, so you have to give in again. Okay, let's start this program. It prints out the first message. I will give in 0, this is not good, 7, not good again, 9, not good, and 4, which is good, and the program exits. Let's do another exercise. Let's go back to the You Are the Hero program. In the first video, the first round of fight was over, but the monster was still alive. So let's fight until death. Let's use the do-while loop. What will be the condition part of the do-while loop? Repeat the fight if both of the parties' life points are above 0. And what will be the repeated activity? Is the fight. So first of all, let's open the last project with the fighting exercise. Open project. In the video 1, fighting is the name of the project. And let's copy it. Copy. Let's make a new name. 02 is the number of the video, underscore 02 the number of the exercise, and fighting will remain. And the project location will be 02. And we copy it. So we will have now two examples of the original project. One is fighting in the first video, and the other one is the 0202 fighting in the second video. So I close the old one. Okay, so let's open the fighting.java. And let's implement the fight until death. So we have to repeat the fighting part, which starts here with the selection of the attacker, and it ends at the end of the program. So this will be repeated. So before that, we put the do, and we put the while at the end here. What will be the condition? Both of the party has to have some life points. So your life has to be greater than 0, and the monster's life has to be greater than 0. Monster life has to be greater than 0. And then the fight will continue. I will put this part to the right. Okay, let's see what happens now. I start the program. So I will give in the attack points of the monster, the defense points of the monster, the damage of the monster, and the life points. And my attack points is better, of course, and other properties of mine. And let's see what happens. So as you can see, all of the rounds will be executed at once. This is not so interesting. So let's make some pause in the middle of the fight. So let's put here a print. press enter to continue, and then we will read in an enter that is a whole line. Okay, let's see what happens. Again, the properties of the monster and my or your properties and my life points. And as you can see, the first press enter to continue was not executed. It doesn't read in an enter, it just printed out the press enter to continue and then the next round. And then after the second print, it stopped to read in the enter. And if I press the enter, then it goes on and on and on until the monster is dead. So what happened? The computer uses a buffering for reading in the characters, so it reads in a whole line at once. And if you read in an integer number, then it leaves in the buffer the enter key, and the enter key will be read in after the second reading. So in this case, we have to empty this buffer, and then it will read in a new enter, not the old one. So let's go back here, and after reading in the life points of the monster, we just put here a line reading for emptying the buffer, so to read in the old enter, which was left there with the next int. So let's start this program again. Attack points of the monster, defense points of the monster, damage of monster, life points, my attack points, my defense points, my damage, and my life points. So as you can see, we emptied the read-in buffer with this sc.nextLine, and the first press enter is followed by the enter reading. So if we are putting the enter, then it executes the fight round by round until the monster dies. Okay, let's make an evaluation of the game, of the fight, and let's create a part when we decide who won this round of fight. So if the monster's life is greater than 0, then that means you lost and you are dead. Sorry. And if your life is greater than 0, then that means you won. The monster is dead. Okay, so the last run. Attack points of the monster, defense points of the monster, damage of the monster, and then it's too much. The life points of the monster, your attack points, your defense points, the damage, and your life points. You are very strong. Okay, so first round, second round, and the evaluation of the fight. You won, the monster is dead. Let's see the next loop, which is the while loop. The syntax of the while loop is the following. We use the while keyword and then in parentheses the condition, just like in the do while loop and in the if statement. And after that, in curly brackets, the statements. Okay, another exercise. let's generate dice rolls 1 to 6 until we get a 6. And we count how many times we had to roll the dice before we get the 6. Let's create a project. Again, a Java application project. And 0, 2, 0, 3. And this is the counting exercise. And let's finish. We have to generate the dice values. So for this case, we will use a random tool. This is very similar to the scanner tool. It just generates the numbers randomly, not reads in from the user. So let's name it generator new random. Just like the scanner, this is inside the java.util package. We import it and we will generate one die value with generator.nextInt, and in the parentheses we put the 6, and in this case it will generate a number randomly from 0 to 5. This is not good for us because the dice values start from 1 and it exceeds the 6. So if we add 1 to this expression, then from 0 to 5 it generates 1 to 6. And we will use another variable, which is the count. This starts from 0. We have to count the dice rolls before the 6. And in this case, if the die not equals to 6, because if it is 6, then the count is 0, so we have to exit the program. If it is not, then first of all, we notice the user that some value is rolled, and then we have to add 1 to the count variable. This plus is the addition. And after that, we roll another die and we try to exceed the 6. So we write here the generator.nextInt, the same as in the beginning, and a new die is rolled. So simply it executes the while, and then it goes here and prints what value is rolled, and then it adds 1 to the count, and then it rolls another one, and it jumps back to the while, and it executes again and again and again until we get the 6. And if we get the 6, then it continues the execution in this point. So you had to roll count times before getting a 6. Okay, and the plus is missing here. Okay, so let's run this program. And we see that 4 is rolled, 5 is rolled, and then a 6 is coming, and you had to roll 2 times before getting a 6. Let's see something else. Let's click here into the gray area, and a rows line will appear. This is called breakpoint. We will stop the program execution at this point. But if we start with the run project, then it doesn't stop. Okay, you see. If you start with this other button, the debug project, then it will stop. It will stop here. And some change appeared in the screen, that here there is a variables tab, and here there are some variables and the values of the variables. So you can see that the first die roll was 2, and therefore the die not equals to 6 will be will be true. And if we jump to the next line with this stop over button, then it goes inside the loop and it prints out the 2. Where is the output? The output in the other tab. 2 is rolled. Let's go back to the variables. And here with this count plus plus, we add 1 to the count. If we execute this line, and as you can see here, the value of the count will be 1. And then we generate a new die. And then we jump back to the while line. And the die is 1, and this is not equals to 6. Then we go inside the loop again. And again, and again, and again, until we get a 6 and we exit from the loop. So if we click on the continue button, then it executes the program until it reaches another breakpoint and then it stops again. So if we remove this breakpoint and click the continue, then it will execute the program until it reaches 6. You might be interested when to use while and when to use do while loop, and are they different or are they similar? So the answer is they can be interchanged. How? So first of all, if we see this program, we will leave out the first dice roll. And then this while statement with the condition will go to the end of the loop. And at the beginning, a do will appear and the semicolon at the end of the while. Before the loop, we will see the switch statement, which is just like a normal switch in an electric device. We have limited number of states, just like heavy duty, colors and darks, normal, and so on. And we can select only one, just like a washing machine. In the Java, the switch syntax is the following. At the top, we will put the variable which is used to select among the states. This can be int, string, char, or enum, but it cannot be float or double. And then the states, case 1, case 2, these are the states, you can select from them. And then the break, so if you want to be selected, then at the end of the state, you use a break statement, and it breaks the execution of the switch. And the default is used to determine which state will be used if none of the above states will be executed. If you want to select the operations of a calculator, plus, minus, multiplication, this is okay because limited number of states and they can be char values. What if we would like to name the age group based on the age? So for example, from 0 to 6, this is a kid, pensionist above 65, and so on. This is not a good example because there are too many values for each state. And branching by real numbers, this is not good because the variable cannot be double and cannot be float. Let's see the next exercise, which is again the You Are the Hero series. So let the hero run away from a too powerful monster and you will lose some points, but you might remain alive. How to do this? At the end of each round, we will make a switch based on the characters typed in. You might run away or you might continue the fight. Okay, let's go back to the fighting exercise. I copied over the fighting project to 0204 fighting. And we will add some new things here. Press enter to continue, and here, or type in run to run away. And here, this next line was executed without storing the value to a variable. But now we will store the command to a variable. And based on this command, this can be enter or this can be run. We use the switch statement based on the command. So if this is a run, then we would like to run away from the monster. So we print out you ran away, you covered -4 life points. And we do this, we subtract 4 from your life as a punishment of run away. And we break, and we use the default branch for the normal iteration. Okay, so if we do this, nothing else will happen. So if we type in the run, then the fight will be carried on. We won't exit the fight. If we would like to exit the fight, then something has to be put somewhere here. So for example, we create a new variable. This will be runaway. And if this runaway is false, then we continue the fight. And if this is true, then we exit from the loop. So if this runaway Boolean value is false, that means we don't want to run away from the fight. We go back to the do, and if this is true, then we exit from the fight. We have to create this runaway Boolean variable. For example, here, initially we don't run away, but here, when we instruct the program to run away, we switch it to true. So here, in this case, it will continue with the next statement with the if monster's life is greater than 0. One more thing is here I changed this part of the conditions. You are dead if your life less than or equal to 0, and you won if the monster's life less than or equal to 0, because in this case we might run away from the fight, and the messages will be right like this. Okay, let's see. I start the program, and let's create a powerful monster with a huge damage and many life points, and our values will be less. And let's type in run, and then it prints out you ran away, we lost 4 life points, and the program ends. The next exercise will be to generate the properties of the monster and the hero. And let's name the monster randomly. How to generate a name for the monster? The solution is we generate a number, and then we use a switch. First of all, let's create a new project as the copy of the previous one. This will be the 0205 fighting. Let's copy it. And we open up the new fighting.java. So first let's create randomly the points of the monster and your points. For that, we bring up this random generator. I cut it and I paste it here. And then let's create the values. So we will use the generator to generate the numbers. So the attack points of the monster will be a value that is from 1 to 8, and the next int 8 generates a number from 0 to 7, and we add one more at the end. So we generate the monster's attack variable here, and we should add at the end of the printing. So we will print it out, and the same as with the defense points of the monster, we generate through the generator. This will be next in 15 plus 3, and we remove the print ln, and we add the new system out print ln at the end of the line. And then the damage of the monster, we create it randomly with the generator, and the damage of the monster will be next in 3 plus 1, and then we print it, the monster damage here. And finally, the life points of the monster will be generated by the generator by next int 20 plus 15, and then we print the monster's life. Okay, so that's all for the monster, and this is your turn. We will generate your values as well with the random generator, and you will be somewhat stronger than the monster. So your attack points next in 6 plus 5. This will be printed to the screen. Attack and the defense points is generated with the random generator, and we print it out. Your defense and your damage will be generated as next int 3 plus 2, and this will be printed as well. I use an abbreviation. We will discuss in the next video how to do these. And finally, your life points. Your life points will be generated by the random generator as well. So you might see that you will be somewhat stronger than the monster. Okay, so in the first part of the program, we don't use a scanner, so we don't have to empty the buffer. So this line is not necessary, unless you want to see the original points. Okay, so let's see what happened until this point. So as you might see, the program generated the values of the monster and your values. And okay, I forgot to print your life points, sorry, here at the end. So we print out your life, and then let's see what happened. Okay, so you can see that all the values are generated randomly and the first turn is done. Your attack was successful and the monster's remaining life points is somewhat less than the original. Okay, so let's stop it and let's generate the name of the monster randomly. For this, I will create a string monster name, which will hold the name of the monster, and we will generate a number. We will have 5 names, and we will select the name by a switch statement. The random generator will generate a number from 0 to 4, and the case number 0 will be the monster name will be equal to Black Demon. This will be the name of the monster. And as we learned, the end of the branches should be terminated by the break. If not, then it will go on to the next branches. The case number 1 will be the monster name equal to the rabbit from the Monty Python series. And case number 2, when the monster name will be Silver Dragon, break will terminate the branch. And then case number 3 is the monster name equal to mountain troll. And case number 4 is monster name equal to the alien. Alien is a strong monster. We might create a default branch if we generate a number other than from 0 to 4. This will be a not available branch. This cannot happen, simple. Okay, so we generated the monster name and let's use it for the printing. So let's replace these monsters to the value of the variable. So I simply replace every monster printing to the monster name variable. I close and then open the next string. I add 2 pluses and then between the 2 pluses the monster name variable. Okay, and here another monster name. Okay, and then your turn, your points, your attack was successful, and the monsters remaining, this will be replaced by the value of the monster name. Monster attacks, and again monster will be replaced by the monster name variable. The same is here, and the same is here. Okay, and one more monster here at the end. Okay, let's run it and let's see what happens. Okay, so the monster will be substituted with the alien everywhere, and then alien's remaining life points. So let's attack again and again. Alien attacks everywhere, alien. And you won, the alien is dead. After fighting one monster, we will face 3 different monsters. So the next exercise will be that our hero will fight with 3 monsters. How will we do that? The solution is the for loop. This is the 3rd loop. So the for loop is the last one. It contains 3 parts: the initialization, the condition, and the increment parts. Let's see an example. In this case, the initialization is the first part when we create an I variable with 0 value. The condition part is I less than 3, and the increment is when we increase the I value with 1. How can we execute the for loop? First, the initialization part will be executed and an I variable is created with 0 value. And then it evaluates the condition. If I is less than 3, then it enters the loop. This is true, so it enters the loop. And then it increments the I value, so the I will be 1. And then again, the condition part will be evaluated. 1 is less than 3. And this is true, so these statements will be executed. And then again the incrementation, and then again the condition part, which is true again. So we execute the statements. And then we increase the i's value, and then we evaluate the condition part again. So in this case, this is not true. So we will continue our program at the end of the for loop, and I will be removed from the memory. Let's create a new version of the project by the copy function. This will be the 0206 fighting. And let's open the fighting.java. And I have to mention that this do-while loop is for fighting with one monster. If we exit from this loop, then either the monster or you are dead. And this part will be repeated 3 times, and including the generation of the monster with the name and with the values. So this part has to be repeated. This part has to be repeated because we have to generate a new monster. And this part is not going to be repeated because you have your own points from the first monster to the last monster. So this will be not the part of the new loop, this for loop. And then we have to repeat the do-while loop and one more remark at the end. So first of all, let's move this part somewhat to the top, because this part is not going to be repeated. So this will be outside the loop, while this other part from this point on has to be repeated 3 times. Okay, and these parts will be selected, and by pressing a tab will be pushed to the right by 1 tab, and I add an ending curly brackets. If I leave this program here, then something, and this is the remark I mentioned, this is somewhat buggy. So if you are dead at the first monster, unfortunately, then it will repeat with the next monster. So the program will not work correctly. So the solution will be to add here a break. The break will break the loop, the most internal loop, the for loop that is inside. Okay, and for testing purposes, I will create not so powerful monsters. So the defense points will be created by next in 10 plus 3. And let's start the program. Okay, so our first enemy is a mountain troll with the defense points of 3, so this will be a piece of cake. So after some rounds of fighting, we will get that the mountain troll's remaining life points is -1, so it is dead. You want the mountain troll is dead, so the next monster, the silver dragon, appears, and we will fight with the monster again, and your life points is decreasing, and the silver dragon is dead. And now another silver dragon, a more powerful silver dragon, will fight us, attack us. And oh, this is very interesting. Who will win? Oh my god. Oh, and yes, and you won, and the silver dragon is dead. Okay, let's see what the break is. We saw the same keyword in the switch, but this is somewhat different. The break breaks the loop. So if we execute this break when the condition is true, then the break goes out the loop. What is the continue? If we execute the continue, then it begins a new iteration of the loop. That means in the case of for loop, the incrementation part will be executed and the statements after the continue will not. And after that, it continues with the evaluation of the condition. What is the case if we use a while loop? Then if the continue is executed, then it goes back to the evaluation of the first condition, and the statements, including the increment part, will not be executed. So the next exercise will be the multiplication table exercise, when we will print this multiplication table from 1 times 1 to 9 times 9. The solution will be one for loop for the rows and another one for the columns. So we will use two for loops, one inside the other one. In this case, we won't continue the fighting program, we create a new one. So let's create a new project. This new project will be a Java application, and the name will be 0207 multiplication. And we create the main class. Okay, so let's remove this comment and let's start with the for loop. It starts with 1 and it goes until it reaches 9, and it is an increasing for loop. And let's print out the value of j. And let's run this program. As you can see, it prints the numbers one next to the other. If we add here, for example, a space, then it will print the numbers with a space between the numbers. And I show you one more thing. This is the formatting of the output. If you use the printf function, then you can specify the format of the output. What do I mean on this? So for example, if we put here the %3d, that means that a special part will appear. And this will be described by the next characters, namely the 3 and the d. The d will describe the integer values, and the 3 that you have to use at least 3 positions to print this integer number. So if I use this and I start the program, you can see that everywhere 3 position is used to print this integer number, and the integer number is positioned to the right side of this field. Okay, so this is one line of the multiplication table, and if I put here systemout.println at the end, so it will break the line. So this line of the multiplication table is okay, is printed. How to print the other lines? So this is one line. We will create a second for loop, which goes from 1 to 9. There's something here. And it wraps the other for loop. So if I start this, then this part will be repeated 9 times. Let's see. As you can see here, there are 9 lines. Yeah, 9 lines. So what is missing is the concrete numbers of the multiplication table. This is the multiplication of one side and the other side. So this is the multiplication of I and j. So let's run it. And this is the multiplication table. So this was the second video, and the next video will be about the NetBeans tips and tricks.